I am happy to introduce author Erik Hare. He has penned the book Re-Enlightening about political and economic discourse, and I will let him take it away. Erik, if you don't mind, let us know a little bit about you, where you're from, and what your book is about.
Well, let's see. I've been all around really. Worked as an engineer for a long time, but now I'm what we call a content designer, Silicon Valley drone, let's just say, guiding people on how to work with systems for a large Silicon Valley company. And just been around a bit. Economics, politics is sort of a hobby of mine, something I've studied for a long time. From the perspective of we really don't talk about it well. I love talking with people about it, but we always seem to be missing something when you're sitting down with a stranger or whatever. And that's one of the things that guided what I was trying to do in Re-Enlightening.
Excellent. And so when I was reading through the book, one of the things that I wrote down actually is that it's the kind of book that transcends time and society. So this is something that's been applicable since, I think back to even my philosophy days back in college. We were
Mhm.
discussing politics and philosophy and how best to run societies. So what would you say personally, if you were to pick maybe an ideal way for our political systems to run? Do you have any comment on that?
Well, sure. The whole idea behind Re-Enlightening is, again, we have trouble really talking about economics. The world has gotten complicated. It's more integrated. We're working closer to each other, and we highly specialize in narrow things. So the coordination is more and more important. How is that coordination done? Well, in a free, democratic, open society, you would think that a lot of it, at least, would be from the bottom up. We're not just relying on leadership. Okay, great. How do we do that? Well, we have to be able to talk about these things at the very least. I mean, before we even have a debate and we're friendly and trying to be solution oriented, we have to have a language to talk
Yeah.
about things. And the language that we have was inherited based on what? The systems that we have, the systems that kind of grew up gradually over the last few hundred years or whatever. And in terms of like the philosophy and all that, yeah, it goes back to college. It's all, deep in your head and so on. That's not where most people are working. They're just trying to get by in their daily lives. So how do we develop a language that is direct to the point and people can understand? And when you mentioned the timelessness of it, well, thank you. That was one of my goals is try and make this as universal as possible to bring in as many people and make it as simple as it can be, but no simpler.
Yeah, one of the things that that I noticed when I was reading through your book is that it is in a way technical, but it's very easy for the average reader to understand, which is something that I appreciated. So I definitely some people see the word politics or see the word economics and I immediately think, oh, this is going to be a little bit too complicated for me. But I do appreciate how you've written a book. It's in a way that a lot of people I think will be able to understand, which is important, especially given that, how polarized we seem to be, not only nationally, but across the globe, I think.
Yeah, and we are polarized because things are changing. And I'm trying to get at what has changed. The system that was set up in the wake of World War II has kind of run its course. It's been a long time, but the world changed because of how things were set up then. And it was brilliant. It accomplished what it meant to do, which is it increasing the material wealth of the whole world. I mean, billions of people were lifted out of poverty because of this. Nations have gone from the ashes of World War II to great success and are our competitors now. Um, okay. And also technology advance. Let's not forget that one. So
Oh yeah.
that system was set up for very good reasons. They have run their course, and now the world has changed because it was so successful. Now, what do we need to do to take it to the next level? And again, if we're going to do this as a free people from the bottom up, we have to be able to understand it. And that is really the hard part of it all. I mean, every election turns on economic issues, right? But it's always somebody telling us what we should be thinking about the economy in words that they want us to be using, which is a very top-down way of doing it.
Yeah.
But it's important to everybody's everyday lives. And of course, people only have limited amount of time to engage with this whole thing. How can we do this as succinctly as possible? Because the turmoil that we see is because change is coming, change is happening. How are we
Mhm.
going to organize it? If we continue to let it all be done from the top down, well, then we're not necessarily going to wind up with a system that we like in the end, are we?
Exactly. Exactly. And with that being said, since some of these things are so universal and applicable to all of our lives, it seems like one of the things that I ask authors is who is your target audience? But it seems like it can apply to a lot of people. A lot of people should be paying attention to these things. What are your thoughts about who your target audience is and who should be really diving into your content here?
Yeah, that's the tricky part about a book like this. It's everybody but nobody. It's people who are really interested in this. What I'm hoping to do is to start conversations, and that's going to
Yeah.
start with the people who are into it. Let's just be real. You know,
Yeah.
so finding people who are interested in economics and so on, interested in politics, but also haven't really given up hope and are looking for the something far down the road. Because again, we're talking about devising the language to help set up a debate, to craft policy, to do. Oh, this is decades in the works. But you know what? We're living in a system that is over 80 years old. These things take decades. So
Yeah.
I'm really targeting people who have that long view, that social historical view of things, because yeah, I'm trying to make it as universal as possible, something where we can really start learning from history so that we don't repeat the same mistakes.
Excellent. So, what would you say led you to this content? Do you have a favorite political philosopher or people who are involved in economics?
Um, I suppose I sort of do. What really led me to it is, again, I am a person who explains complicated things in Silicon Valley. So I've always been interested in these complicated systems that the world relies on, and especially the ones that people need to know. And so, yes, I have this bottom up philosophy. I'm an Adam Smith kind of guy. He is the one who turned what we would call capitalism from something that served kings and emperors into something that he hoped would serve people. And it's really interesting reading his work because uh, it's what Mark Twain would call a classic, a book which people praise but don't read. If you actually read his book, he was very concerned about working people and very concerned about how industrialization would affect their lives. And I think that's the part that's really missing in a lot of the conversations we have. But in general, I try not to get too involved with any one particular person. I do have in the frontispiece of it, the quote from John Maynard Keynes: "Practical men who believe themselves to be quite exempt from any intellectual influences are usually the slaves of some defunct economist." And one of the things I love about Keynes is his sense of humor. He was great about this.
Yeah. Well, that is wonderful. It is certainly a pleasure. I do recommend that everybody do that go out and get a copy of your book. Can we expect more titles from you in the future, perhaps?
Yes, I am working on how to make this more like overtly political, have systems, because uh, one of the conclusions I have, which is, here we are talking about economics, talking about money and systems and things like that. Really, what is important to me is that the greatest resource of any nation in any time are its people, their
Yes.
ambitions, their skills, their morals, their drive. This is how I concluded it. But I think that that deserves some more elaboration, because when we talk about political systems, we often talk about things like money and power and stuff like that. And that's not doing anybody any good, really. Okay? We need to be talking about people, what they really need to have, and setting up systems that are people based, because even if all you care about is the economic output in the end, it's the people that make it happen.
Excellent. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Is there anything you would like to add before we wrap up?
No, it's been great, and I appreciate all your help getting this sucker published in the first place. So
Excellent. Hopefully, it wasn't too much of a hassle to get everything across the finish line, but it was
uh,
definitely a pleasure working with you. And I can say that it was refreshing to read because of how well it was written. And what I'll do is I'll put your link in the description so everybody can check out more about you and what you might have to come.
yep, we'll do. Thanks a lot, Eva.
Okay.
Appreciate it.